So good morning everybody and welcome to Metaphors in the Essential Hypnosis and NLP Training. So I'm Trish Palmer, I am your teacher here today. I am a master clinical hypnotherapist. So let's talk about metaphors. This is something that you'll start to notice around your family and your friends. Give me some love hearts and likes. I absolutely love it. Keep tapping that button. Thank you. So back to it, Trish. So you'll be surprised how many times that you've actually used metaphors yourself and that you're actually a natural hypnotherapist or a natural linguist when it comes to NLP language and things like that. It's just that we're not actually educated in it yet. So let me talk to you about some metaphors. So what exactly is a metaphor? So generally speaking, it's a story or an idea that stems from another situation. We speak and dream in metaphors, even if we don't know that we are actually doing it. That's why when you wake up, you'll be like, I had this weird dream. And that's the amygdala and the hippocampus actually deciphering all the information in pictures and representation and interpretation. Metaphors seem different to the conscious, but can speak directly to the unconscious. Metaphors can bypass the conscious, bringing the unconscious to awareness. They are also referred to as the language of the unconscious, where a message can be displayed, deciphered, and received on many levels. So if somebody can't get a point across where they're talking directly at you, they'll start talking in metaphors so that maybe they can get the message through that way. And you'll be like, yeah, I get what you're talking about, without actually directly talking about it. And that means they're talking directly to your unconscious. So here's an example of a metaphor. Now you may have used this metaphor yourself, or maybe you've heard it around. So here's an example of a one-line metaphor. You have a heart of gold. The reality is that the person doesn't actually have a heart that is made from gold, but as we interpret that metaphor, we interpret it as, well, this metaphor must be a good thing. So there are 6 different types of metaphors. The first one is the absolute metaphor. This metaphor compares 2 things that have no obvious connection, that the listener understands that this is absolutely what's happening. So for example, she is playing with fire with her relationship at the moment. So in other words, that's a metaphor. It's a one-line metaphor, but it has no determination when it comes to the 2 things being compared, but you can absolutely agree with the statement, with the story that's being told. You know, yeah, she needs to be nicer or something like that. So they're not saying that the relationship is failing. They're just giving an absolute determination that this is not a good thing. We also have what's known as dead metaphors. These are one-line metaphors that lose their power if you overuse them. So for example, you light up my life. If you use that constantly every day, it actually loses their power as life goes on. It's just like the word fuck these days. It doesn't have the power that it used to have back when I was a child, because so many people are using it just in a general context that this metaphoric statement just has lost all its meaning. When somebody says, I will do it because I trust you, you are the world to me. You've actually gotten to a stage where like, I don't trust you anymore and you're not the world to me because you betrayed me so many times. But you listen to the dead metaphor anyway and you just don't respond to it. There are also extended metaphors. This is a lengthy metaphor with great meaning. Now, when it comes to great meaning, these are things that have statements in it, and sometimes the words don't even make sense, but the meaning absolutely does. For example, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. And that was from William Shakespeare. And what he's talking about there is that all the men and women are actually playing out their lives on the stage known as life. You can exit and enter at any time you want, and they're all playing different parts at different times. There's also the wonderful metaphor that we are all playing thousands of stories in thousands of different times and universes. It is actually a wonderful thing to have extended metaphors and to really start to master them, so that way you can actually express them to others. We have implied metaphors. Now these are the therapist's best tools, where 2 things are compared without using a specific term, yet the message is completely understood. For example, watching this game is like watching grass grow. So 2 things have no relationship whatsoever, but we understand what the meaning of that metaphor is. We also have mixed metaphors. These metaphors seem like mumbo jumbo, but they're very deep when it comes to their meaning, and they can be powerfully moving, especially if your client is really in that listening state, like, Yeah, yeah, they've really opened themselves up. For example, in the heat of the moment, she turned to ice and danced to the beat of her own drum. So it sounds like mumbo jumbo because in the heat of the moment, she turned to ice. So she went from hot to cold and then lifted herself up by dancing to the beat of her own drum. So it seems like mumbo jumbo, but it means that it has really deep meaning when you start to decipher what it is that you're saying there. And then we have root metaphors. These metaphors are everyday language and assumptions. We use them so often we barely even recognize the true meaning of them anymore. So, for example, life is a journey, not a destination. And we go, There's so many of them in motivational speeches and stuff like that we actually get to a stage where as much as it's talking to the unconscious, we don't care anymore. We're not actually tuning into it. So metaphors are used greatly in hypnotic language, and a well-constructed metaphor can bypass the conscious to the unconscious and address the problem without ever bringing the problem to the surface. Problems can be solved without speaking about them or bringing back the negative memories around the situation. So this is really great for victims of abuse and trauma and things like that. So I have actually sessions that I do with my clients who have been through some very horrible stuff when they were children and things like that, and you can actually get them to heal without bringing up the actual situation. Metaphors should never be picked apart. So that's like someone explaining a joke and then the joke is no longer effective and it's no longer funny. It's like finding out the magician's tricks and things like that. It no longer works. So metaphors can be done in a conversation, which is an NLP style, or it can be done in the hypnotic trance. That makes them so powerful. So you can do it in waking hypnosis just whilst you're standing there talking to someone, or you can do it whilst in trance, while somebody's really in that deep hypnosis trance. It doesn't matter either way, they're just as effective. And this is why I highly promote that you do a pre-talk when you're doing your hypnosis sessions. So ensure that your metaphor fits the interest of the client that you are assisting. When you're using metaphors in conversation, you should always make it seem like it's just part of the conversation. Oh, you light up my life and you're just so relaxed and easygoing. Always start with a generic conversation and then at the right moment use the metaphor to assist with solving the client's problem. Now you may need to listen to your client for a little bit and then find out what it is that they're using and what words that they're saying and how they're expressing them, but you'll see your client's eyes slowly and very slightly gaze over, and they will become more aware of their unconscious, that it engages in the metaphors and it listens to the message that it's going to receive. So when it comes to, say for example, up in the top corner, you can see a wolf in sheep's clothing as such. So if you've got a client and they're talking about how their partner has betrayed them and is hurting them and there's no trust in the relationship or something like that, you can be just talking just generally, just saying things like, so this partner has been betraying you and hurting you and cheating you. Do I have that correct? And they'll be like, yes. And they're like, just like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Yes. And they're like, yeah, they're doing it. They're really hurting me. So you've used a metaphoric sentence there to engage in an emotion to find out what the trigger emotion is going on. So therefore you can heal that emotion later on. So metaphors don't necessarily have a point or a punchline either. Like I said before, some of them just seem like mumbo jumbo, like they're not even saying anything. And some metaphors in hypnotic language are openers for deeper meaning. So you'll start off by saying one metaphor, which you'll just end up having a conversation, and then the person just determines it however they wish. So for example, the therapist may begin talking about the client standing in the kitchen doing the dishes. And as they plunge their hands into the water, it is warm and bubbly, like being in a spa. The spa that relaxes all the muscles in the body, causing relaxation. The bubbles massage away all of the tension, all causing the body to relax. Excuse me. The bubbles massage away all the muscles in the body, massaging and relaxing in such a beautiful spa-styled resort with relaxing music and beautiful scents. Nothing to do but relax. The start of the example when I was talking about you actually going into the kitchen and doing your dishes. So at the very start of it, you talk about how you plunge your hands into hot water and it's warm and bubbly. And then all of a sudden it flicks to like you're in a spa. And then it flicks to that you're having a massage at a spa resort. So the conscious mind thinks that the dishes are being done, whilst the unconscious mind is listening to the bubbly spa and then takes on the message to relax. That's how you can start it in general conversation and then shift it into metaphoric language. So to use metaphors, these are the must-do rules, okay? You must construct an idea or story that is different to the problem, but matches the pattern of the problem. So for example, when you place fuel into the petrol tank of a car, there's only so much it can take before it spills out and damages the body. You know when the tank is full and you can stop. Now this is a great metaphor for weight loss. So if you've got someone who's really open, like, you can just be having a conversation and you're like, just imagine a car now. Now, when you place fuel into the petrol tank of the car, there's only so much it can take before it spills out and it damages the body. Do you hear that part? Damages the body. Are we talking about damaging the body of the car now or damaging the human's body? Because before then, they were talking about how much they're overweight and how they're overeating and stuff like that. So you start talking about the petrol in the car, and then when it spills out, it damages the body. And you know when the tank is full and can stop. So that's where I do a direct metaphor, a direct suggestion, where I'm like, to when the tank is full and you can stop. So it's really, really great for weight loss. You also match the metaphor with the person's interests, okay? So there's absolutely no point in somebody coming to me and saying how they want to quit smoking and then all that sort of stuff, and then me going on a metaphoric tangent as such, talking about filling up a car with petrol, and when it's full, you can stop, because it's not going to have any relationship with what we're talking about. Also, when you're talking about a metaphor, especially with children, if you have children and they're talking about how much they love the Hulk. So not long ago, I had a little boy that absolutely refused to eat his broccolis and his peas and beans and things like that, and his mum had enough of it. So she brought him to me and she's like, "Is there any way you can get him to eat his vegetables? He needs to eat his green vegetables." And I said, "No worries." So when he came in, he was talking about how he loves superheroes. And I said to him, "Do you know how the Hulk is always green?" And this little boy's like, yeah. I'm like, "That's because he eats all of his veggies, his green veggies, to get strong and powerful." And he's like, "Oh, really?" And then all of a sudden he was eating all of his green vegetables because he loves the Hulk and he wants to be as strong and as powerful as the Hulk. And then the little boy said to me, he's like, "Won't I turn green as well?" And I'm like, no, you don't turn green. You will turn this wonderful shape. You will be so powerful and healthy. Like this, little boy's like, "Oh, wow, this is fantastic." So match the metaphor with the interest of the person. So this little boy loved the Hulk. It had green veggies. It worked absolutely perfect. So match it. There was no point in me saying, "Do you know that Superman loves to eat his green vegetables?" And the little boy wasn't interested in Superman. It's not going to work like that. Make sure the metaphor provides a solution to the problem and hope. So not only are you actually providing a solution to the problem, but an ongoing solution as well, that the problem is gone and it's not going to bother them anymore. So if you look at the metaphor above where it talks about the car and the petrol going in, you know when the tank is full and can stop. So therefore that will provide a solution. So you know when the tank is full, and then the hope that you can stop. It's that command at the end, that ongoing help, that they know that they can stop. Metaphors can be used in a deep trance or in conversation. Many times I'll actually do it in both. So I'll do the start of my hypnosis, the pre-talk part, and then I'll go into the deep trance part and then do all of that. If a metaphor doesn't take, nothing is lost and the listener just heard an interesting story. That's all it is. So don't worry about it. Reconstruct and go again. So later on you will learn how a hypnosis script is set up and will understand where the metaphor comes into the healing state. So all of this is available in the manual. You can download it within the course. So if you'd like to become certified, please click the link below so that you can actually become certified and you can get the manual with all of the information that is in it. So please join me next time. I'll be teaching you how to break state and how to future pace your client. When you're breaking state with your client, you're snapping in that message and they're just like, "Oh, that message is straight in there." And then you can future pace them so that they know that the problem is genuinely gone and they don't have to worry about it anymore. So please join me next time. Otherwise than that, have an awesome day, everybody. Bye-bye. Mwah.